In the pale light, after a long night, a boat nudged the eastern shore of the lake. The hills of the Decapolis rose in rough shoulders, and the scent of swine hung in the air. Jesus had crossed from Galilee with tired disciples who still felt the echo of a storm calmed by a sentence. The water lay flat like a memory behaving itself. On this shore, however, the quiet had a different enemy. From the tombs above the shoreline came a figure most villages learned to fear. Bare feet, scarred skin, hair like a flag in bad weather. Chains dangled in fragments, not because they had fallen off, but because he had torn them. He lived among stones meant for the dead, a man whose name had been traded for warnings. Children were told not to stray near that path. Farmers took the long way around at night. His cries ricocheted across the rocks and seeped through doorways where families tried to sleep. Mark's account says he cut himself with stones. Pain used to push out pain until only emptiness remained. Men had tried to restrain him, but the restraints did not last. Communities often respond to what they cannot comprehend with control. When control fails, they choose distance. Distance can feel like safety. It leaves people in tombs. Seeing Jesus from far off, the man ran and fell before him. The voice that exploded from his throat sounded plural and ancient. What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me. Jesus had already been saying, come out of the man, unclean spirit. Then came the question that exposed the scale. What is your name? My name is Legion, for we are many. The word belonged to Rome, to columns of soldiers heavy with coordination and authority. Here it described an occupation of the inner life, a multiplied malice inside one tormented human. The spirits begged not to be sent out of the region. Nearby, a large herd of pigs fed on the slope. Send us into the swine. Let us enter them. Jesus gave permission. The spirits rushed into the animals, and the herd stampeded down the bank into the lake and drowned. It was a terrible surplus of motion, as if chaos needed a visible outlet after losing its favourite address. The waters that had obeyed Jesus the night before now closed over a different storm. The herdsmen ran. They told the story in the city and in the countryside, breathless and folded with fear. Curiosity gathered people as fast as commerce can muster. They came back to find what ended where the cliff began. Most of all, they found a man seated, clothed, and in his right mind. The three details mattered in that order: rest, dignity, clarity. When terror meets mercy, it often chooses the familiar terror. They were afraid. They begged Jesus to leave their region. Economy had been interrupted. Predictable boundaries had been rearranged by an authority they did not control. It felt safer to escort the healer back to his boat than to let him rewrite the daily script. The man who had been possessed pleaded for a different outcome. Let me go with you. Jesus did not grant the request. He gave a commission instead. Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. The Decapolis was a league of 10 cities where Greek language shaped commerce and Roman power enforced order. Into that network, Jesus sent a missionary with the simplest credential in the world: a life liberated by compassion. This is the skeleton of the story: arrival, confrontation, permission, loss, fear, departure, and a mission. But bones alone do not breathe. We need to slow down and let this moment teach us how authority meets torment and how communities respond when God repairs what they had learned to ignore. First, we must see the man. He is not a symbol of evil to be used for arguments. He is a human with a history that the text does not list. Maybe he had a family who once tried to help and then stopped answering the door. Maybe he had a trade. Whatever his past, the present had collapsed into a geography of graves and a routine of self-harm. When Jesus steps on shore, he does not ask whether the man is respectable enough to warrant attention. He moves toward the cry. Second, we must see the scale. Legion does not mean the man is exaggerating. It names the feeling people know when their inner world is crowded with voices, accusations, compulsions, memories that wear military boots. Some listeners will map this to language of spiritual warfare. Others will hear the vocabulary of trauma and mental suffering. The Gospels refuse to flatten torment into a single lens. They announce that whatever the composition of our chains, the authority of Jesus can break them. Third, we must see the permission. He gave them permission to enter the pigs. Authority in this story is not a contest between near equals. Jesus does not grapple for a fair fight. Even the command of demons travels on a leash held by his word. This should humble superstition and heal fatalism. The darkest rooms are not off limits to the light. They are lit on schedule by a voice that cannot be argued down. Fourth, we must face the cost. 2,000 animals were lost. The text is not sentimental about it, but neither does it mock livelihoods. It tells the truth that liberation in one place can feel like loss in another. When mercy becomes expensive, communities must decide what they value most: predictable profit or people made whole. Their request for Jesus to leave suggests which choice they made. Fifth, notice the verbs around the healed man: seated, clothed, and in his right mind. Seated indicates rest where agitation once lived. Clothed restores dignity where exposure had humiliated. In his right mind signals integration where fragmentation had ruled. Jesus does not only extract darkness, he installs order. He does not only stop harm, he starts wholeness. Sixth, learn the mission. Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. It is not a command to craft abstractions, it is a command to tell a story. Some testimonies begin in sanctuaries, this one begins in the marketplace. The Decapolis will learn the vocabulary of mercy first in a voice they recognize from their streets. Seventh, respect the mystery. Not every storm ends in one sentence. Not every chain breaks at once. This narrative is not a formula, it is a revelation. It reveals who Jesus is, Lord over what breaks us, Lord over what frightens us, Lord over the boundary between visible and invisible. If he delayed in your story, do not read delay as disinterest. If he moved in an instant here, do not demand identical timing everywhere. Eighth, ask about our towns. We also run budgets, not herds, but the pressure is the same. What happens when the presence of Jesus jeopardizes our arrangements? Do we escort him to the shoreline of our schedules, or do we invite him to reorder them? The transformed man becomes a test case standing in the middle of a council meeting. What matters more, the balance sheet or a neighbour who now sleeps in his own home? Ninth, consider the disciples who watched. Yesterday the wind learned obedience. Today, a legion obeys a leash. The lesson grows in concentric circles: creation, then spirits, then communities, then hearts that must choose how to live with a Lord whose power comes wrapped in mercy. Discipleship is not an elective about personal improvement. It is an education in the structure of reality under a king. 10th, be honest about fear. The town was afraid when they saw the man saying, sometimes we fear what we asked for because it comes with responsibility. Healed people become neighbours again. Neighbours need jobs, meals, conversation, and welcome. Miracles can create work. Love accepts the work as part of the worship. 11th, walk into the tombs you avoid, not to stare, not to pry, but to listen for the cry that drew Jesus. You may not cast out demons, but you can stand with a friend until the chains come off. You can call a counselor. You can keep vigil in prayer. You can be the patient presence that says, I will not leave you in the graveyard. The kingdom grows when people hear a different voice than the one that has been renting space in their head. 12th, write down the verbs of mercy for yourself. Seek Jesus. Speak honestly. Sit, wear dignity, learn clarity, tell your people. These verbs can become a liturgy for those climbing out of the caves of shame and compulsion. And for those who love them, they can become a checklist for practical care. If this episode is serving you or someone you love, please like, comment, share and subscribe so this story can reach those who need a steady hope today. Back on the shoreline, Jesus stepped toward the boat as the crowd's request hardened into conclusion. The man once wild followed, pleading for a seat among the disciples. The refusal was not a refusal of love, it was a redirection of vocation. Some are called to sail close to Jesus day by day. Others are sent to live Jesus in places boats cannot carry. He went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled. Imagine his first day home. A door opened slower than usual. Faces calculated whether to flee. A voice they knew said different words than it used to. I am well. Mercy found me. Come and see. He slept in a bed that night. He woke without a chorus of threat inside his skull. Breakfast tasted like a sacrament because ordinary things become holy when you once thought you would never hold them again. Think of the pig herdsmen. Their loss was not imaginary. Some had to find new work. Following Jesus costs different people different things, and the grief is real. The story does not laugh at them. It measures the price and asks a deeper question. What is a person worth? Jesus' answer is always more than your best.